I don't think there's a person out there, if you were talking about somebody and you referred to them as honest or reliable, or it's an ethical person, or that's an upright citizen, right? That's good gossip, right? I don't mind people talking about me like that. So we'll also hear things like it's a man of great integrity, or that's a man of character. And these are people who have the strength of commitment to put themselves on the line for things. They stand for something, no matter the situation. And they will act in ways that are consistent and true of their word. So they are who they say that they are. Their words and their actions line up.
We believe that you are strong by design, and you were made in God's image to have a strong body, mind, and spirit. You're listening to the #1 Strength and Health Authority podcast in the world. So let's get ready to unlock your potential and transform your life in today's episode.
Hello there. Welcome to the Strong by Design podcast show. Your host today, Coach Chris Wilson, here on the microphone. And this is a really fun, only occasional experience here on Strong by Design where I am solo. And it's for a reason. It's for a purpose. And I'll get to that in just a moment. But just really quickly want to say thank you so much to our listeners, to our return listeners, and certainly to our brand new listeners for tuning into the Strong by Design podcast, something that we have been doing here at Critical Bench now since May of 2018. And we are just loving the show, loving how it's grown, and the conversations that we've had, meaningful conversations with people from all different backgrounds and expertise in talking about being stronger in your body, in your mind, in your spirit. And it's really a great outlet for us here as a health and fitness publishing company, email marketing company. We've been around for over 20 years, since 1999, and much of what we have out in the world is health and fitness based. But the podcast has grown into this, completely different side of the business that's much more of like a ministry and just a way for us to impact people in different ways outside of just the realm of health and fitness. And it's been so much fun. Conversations that we ordinarily just would never have. And we get to have them, and then we get to share them. And that's just what makes it so great. So thank you for finding our show and for tuning in, for coming back, and for sharing it. That's how this show grows. The organic activity that's happening from people listening and sharing it with friends or family members. And I know when I hear a really good podcast, because I listen to several, it's like reading a really good book. You want to talk about it with other people. You want to share it with other people. And so I hope that's something you feel compelled to do, because it really does help us grow and reach more listeners. So thank you in advance for that. So, sounds like I need a little sip of water. Yeah, getting a little, pardon me, getting a little hoarse there. So anyway, it's because I do a lot of talking. So the topic today is a special one, and that's why I am doing a solo podcast, not something that we do a lot of here. I've done a handful just this year, and it's for a very special reason. It's because here at Critical Bench, we are grounded in 7 core values that are really the foundation to our business and how we operate and function inside the business, in our network, with our staff, our team members, just all of our interactions and relationships are really predicated on these 7 core values. And so I'm doing a solo podcast for each one of the 7 core values. I've already done one on our passion core value, which is episode 231, titled "Passion is the Fuel Behind All Success." I encourage you to go back and please listen to that one. Really enjoyed talking about that because I'm a pretty easily fired up, passionate guy. But also, if you dive way back to episode 1, Mike and I did one together which really covers all 7 core values in a kind of a quick fast-forwarded version. And we talk through these 7 things that make us who we are and how we operate here at Critical Bench. And that episode's the 7 keys to be strong by design, episode 1. So after you listen to this one, maybe you want to go back and listen to that nice overview podcast. So, all right, so let's dive into the material. Really interesting stuff here. What am I talking about? What happens in Vegas? What you do when nobody is looking. And this really comes down to a word that has been utilized by leaders, by people of great success in many ways. And at the end, I will share 10 famous quotes about this particular topic. I'm going to reserve that for the very end of the podcast because I found 10 that I really loved. Such a great blend of human beings that have shared their thoughts in a sentence or two about this particular topic. And the topic at hand here is integrity. And this conversation I've thought a lot about over the last several months. And so this is really what I came up with and what I wanted to share with you about it. First, we got to start with a definition, right, of the word. So dictionary.com, if you go in there and you look, integrity is a noun. And there's 3, as with a lot of words, there's different versions of different meanings right behind the word. Adherence to moral and ethical principles, soundness of moral character, honesty. The second meaning, the state of being whole, entire, or undiminished, to preserve the integrity of the empire. And third, a sound, unimpaired, or perfect condition, the integrity of a ship's hull. Right? So when you hear that word integrity, it means, well, you just heard what it means, but I'm trying to kind of equate it or form another analogy. It means whole. It means entire. It means that it's soundness. And you hear that word character thrown in a lot with it, and so we created our own definition, if you will, of that word and how we use that in our business as one of our core values. So we have our own, out of our 7 core values, integrity, one of those, we came up with our own definition for the business. And that is, we are committed to following biblical, moral, and ethical practices. Pretty short and sweet and simple, right? And ultimately, and it's just such a great conversation to have with people because this one word, integrity, kind of includes and encapsulates so many other qualities. Like, I actually have something that I made in advance that I wrote because I thought, man, it's kind of like if you took all of our core values, the other 6, they're all kind of hinging on this one. And so I'll get to that in just a bit. So what are some of the other words that people will kind of use in an exchange of the word integrity, or they will merge or infuse with if they're talking about this particular topic? Well, they will say something like honesty, as you've already heard me say. You'll hear the word character. He has great character. Loyal or loyalty, reliable or reliability, truthful, honor, ethical, upright. So these are just some different words that you hear. And I don't think there's a person out there, if you were talking about somebody and you referred to them as honest or reliable or that's a person of great honor, or it's an ethical person, or that's an upright citizen, right? You think, that's a good thing. I don't mind that type, but that's good gossip, right? I don't mind people talking about me like that. So I'll take that all day long. So we'll also hear things like it's a man of great integrity, or that's a man of character. And these are people who have the strength of commitment to put themselves on the line for things. They stand for something, no matter the situation. And they will act in ways that are consistent and true of their word. So they are who they say that they are, right? Their words and their actions line up. A person of integrity stands for something and doesn't or won't risk their beliefs, their personal core values, in the way they act, in the way they speak to other people, right? Now, I'm not saying, again, I'm far from perfect. I've admitted that in several past podcasts. Again, ask my wife, ask my children. I'm sure every day there's a blunder or something that I will do or say that I will maybe instantly regret or be sorry for afterwards, but I'm typically able to realize that, acknowledge it, and confront it. And I mean, that's a part of it. Because, hey, we all lose our temper at certain moments, right? And some of us have shorter fuses. I know I'm somebody that can have a short fuse, but I realize that is a shortcoming of mine, and it is something I continue to work on, and it has improved over the decades. So here, let's take this in a little bit of another direction, because I thought, talking about what this word is, what it means, how vitally important it is to how we live our life is one thing, but what about what's my past look like? Are there moments, and I'm sure we all have them, moments in our lives that we wish we could get a do-over because maybe we didn't really live out that we didn't show great integrity in a moment, right? We weren't honest in a moment. We weren't loyal in a moment. And so I have 3 different moments that I wanted to kind of talk or mention with you on this podcast, just to show you my heart, and so I'll just take it from the top here. So if you go back about 20 years, I actually worked in the furniture business, believe it or not. And I worked for a terrific company. You may have heard of it. It's called City Furniture. Started on the East Coast, actually Miami. They were Waterbed City way back in the day. They became City Furniture in the early 90s. And it was a fun, vibrant, amazing company. They continue to grow and expand here in the state of Florida. Terrific company, lots of stores. I mean, they have 20-something stores. And I loved my job. I worked at a beautiful showroom, 55,000 square feet in Fort Lauderdale, right on the water. It was, when I started there, it was a brand new store in the company. And so anyway, fast forward into that position. I was a sales associate. I elevated up into some management roles as well. And I loved, I'm a people person, walking, talking, helping people, buy furniture for their homes. And there was this couple that I had worked with on, let's say it was a Saturday, which it probably was. Yeah, it was a Saturday, actually. And I'd spent a good part of my day working with these people. And we discussed, sometimes people won't commit to a big purchase in that moment. They wanted to maybe think on some things, sleep on some things, and they were going to come back and see me the next day. And they did come back the next day. However, as we had discussed, I told them I wasn't coming in till 12 that day. It was a Sunday, and we opened up, I think, at like 10 or 11 or something. And I was like the second, like the later shift for the day. And I walk in, and they are already seated at the computer with one of my fellow coworkers, Terrence, who's I was very friendly with all the people I worked with, very friendly. And I remember walking in, and that initial, and this is a big sale. This is like a full house of furniture. This would have made my week. And I walk in, and I see this couple sitting there with Terrence, and being an immature, I mean, this is 20 years ago, right? So I'm in my middle, I'm like 26 years old. And I walk right up, and I create a confrontation. I look right at the people, and I say, I thought we talked about this and you were going to come in. You knew I wasn't going to be here till 12. And anyway, I forget exactly the details of what I said, but in that moment, I remember Terrence looking at me, and his eyes basically told me, like, stop and go somewhere else right now. And so I did. I didn't like escalate too badly, but just the fact that I acknowledged this and confronted the customer. By the way, they're City Furniture's customer, not my customer, right? But I remember later, after they finished up the transaction and they left, Terrence came over to me and he said, "You never do that. That's something you cannot do. You can't, I mean, people are going to say one thing and do another. It's just human nature. You might have had great rapport with them and the whole day was really good, and they said, yeah, they won't come back, but maybe they got up early that day and they were really excited and something else happened in their life and they wanted to get in there and get the sale done, and they did. And it was more important to them to get the furniture than who they bought it with. And so I lost a really huge commission, but I also showed a lack of integrity, a lack of good character, a lack of good judgment in that moment by confronting these people in a way that just was totally unprofessional and immature. And I regretted it. Of course, it took me a little time to calm down because I was really pissed. It was it's a commission job, and I felt like I was like the money was like taken from me, even though it was never necessarily mine to begin with. But so that's one moment that was regretful. But, Terrence and I made up, and he understood where I was coming from. Just I didn't handle it right. Another thing, so because I do have a short temper sometimes and I'm highly competitive, there was a moment, this is another quick story. There was a moment where I was playing wiffle ball with my son and my two nephews in my backyard, and we were having a good time. And it was kind of late in the day, and it was starting to get dark. And we were trying to squeeze in as much as we could before it was too dark to play anymore. And I'm trying to think my son, I think, was hitting. And my nephew, Braden, was playing at first base. And my other nephew, Carter, was playing more at like second. And I was at third base. And my son rips a shot down the line that I called foul. And based on where the base was, right? You can hit foul balls, you can hit fair balls. Well, I called it foul. And then a little argument ensued, like, no, that was fair. And I'm like, no, it was foul. I'm standing here at third base, and it went to like my right. It was a foul ball. And it was not a big deal, but my nephew, Braden, kept like jawing at me saying, no, that was fair. And I'm like, Braden, it was foul. I'm standing right here. I saw where the ball went. I have no, like, if it was fair, I would have been happy for my son to hit a fair ball. Anyway, it was one of those things where I'm kind of by the book, and I didn't let it go, and my nephew didn't let it go. And so he kind of irked me to the point where I ran over and got kind of close to him, and I pointed my finger at him. I said, Braden, shut up. That was a foul ball. And just that in that moment, I guess I didn't even really pick up on it, but in that moment, he absolutely felt like not good. Like he felt, I don't know if he's intimidated or fearful or whatever, because I kind of like ran over to him and got kind of close to him and told him to shut up. And that wasn't a very good, uncle thing to do, right? It was dumb on my part. It was just in bad judgment, not being kind. I could have just blown it off and been like, okay, well, maybe it was fair, but I called it foul. So can we move on? And just kind of get over it. Instead, I let myself get worked up about it because they weren't like trusting what I had to say. So anyway, this gets back, and I kind of forget about it, but this gets back to my sister-in-law and my brother, and they were very upset with me about this, to the point where like my sister-in-law didn't want to talk to me unless I was going to call to talk about the situation and make a formal apology. And so I did. After like a week, I thought about it, and I'm like, oh, gee whiz. I mean, it was one of those dreaded calls. Like, I got a call and I have to apologize. I have to eat some crow. I have to humble myself here for just being a jerk. And I did, and we talked it out, and everything smoothed out, and it was fine. But in that moment, I really didn't handle things right. And just a couple of years ago, so it shows you, like, even though I've improved in a lot of ways, there's still moments where bad judgment or passion that's not really not directed properly, or that my temper just gets the best of me, and I don't do or say the right thing. And I think we've all been there, right? In traffic, right? Or in a retail store situation, if we're in line and somebody cuts us, right? I mean, people are gonna flip out over small, in the big picture, small things. But thirdly, I wanted to give you like a sense that I'm not a complete jerk. Listen, I've been coaching youth baseball for many, many years, and most of those moments I look back on with great pride, because I've just enjoyed the guys I've coached with. I've enjoyed the groups of boys that I've been able to be around and help teach baseball and win together, and all of the things that the sport requires that go beyond just hits and throws and catching the ball. And it's instilling that sportsmanship, which is really integrity, right? It's respect for your competition or your opponent, respect for the other coaches, the coaches on your own team, the coaches on the opponent's team, the umps who are refereeing the game, right? Who are in some ways deciding the outcome in a lot of ways with their calls. And sometimes you don't like those calls from the umps, but you still have to kind of respect them in that moment. And really just respect for the game itself, and really instilling all of those things in these players. And I remember one day we were getting to baseball, and I was getting the baseball gear out of my trunk with my son, and we hear off in the distance in the football field, it's a huge complex, there's football, soccer, and baseball, and we can hear in the distance a football coach berating, like just at the top of his lungs, going after a kid. It could have been a collection of players, football players, and he was cussing and using F-bombs, and I mean, it was not good. And in that moment, I just looked at my son, because you could clearly hear what this guy was saying, and I said, buddy, that is not how you coach. I mean, it took me about 3 seconds to realize that is not a good coach. I don't care who he's talking to, if it's a grown person or a 10-year-old kid. That's just not how you talk to somebody, especially if you're trying to get the best out of them. It was ridiculous. And we just kind of collected our stuff and walked over to the baseball field. And in my mind, I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I don't ever want to be that coach. I don't ever want to be that guy. Even though my passion and my energy I can be kind of like, I can see red sometimes when I get worked up about something, but not to that point. And so these things happen in our life sometimes. I think they're like little corrections. If we don't have these experiences, how are we ever to know how we need to improve or to grow? We all have shortcomings. We all fall short in some way, some area of our life. And these are learning lessons. These are growth opportunities. And I've had many of them in my life. And I will have more. I'm 46 years old. I have a lot of years ahead of me, hopefully. Hopefully I'm not even halfway to the finish line right now. And so I hope to just continue to mature and become more wise and handle adversity better as I get older. And that comes down to integrity. Let's talk about it now from more of a business side of things, right? What happens to people, businesses, organizations that don't operate or function with a high degree of integrity? Well, one thing that happens is they will lack trust in others, in their team members, their coworkers, the staff, their supervisors, the guys who are at the very top, guys or girls at the top. When there's distrust, right? When you're not trusting in what other people have to say, that will erode a business so very quickly. And I have some examples for you as well. I How about lack of reliability or accountability in tasks getting done, right? If someone doesn't have a high degree of integrity, how are you to know like that they're going to do what they say they're going to do? They're unreliable. They don't have the accountability there because they say one thing and they're doing another, right? How about a lack of loyalty? How destructive that is. Not being loyal in your relationships, in your networking opportunities, right? This leads to what? A lack of connection, right? And when you mess up relationships in your personal life, your professional life, those become like dead ends. Those are opportunities that are now cut off or gone, missing, right? So your world shrinks a little bit. When you have a high degree of integrity, you keep a lot of the super highway of relationships and network just grows and gets bigger for you, right? So people are attracted to people of integrity. There's no question about it. I mean, they're either repelled by a lack of integrity or they're attracted, or you have like magnetism. When you're a person look at like Coach Tony Dungy or something like that. That man, he has integrity coming out of his ears. It led to creating, basically the Tampa Bay Buccaneers becoming Super Bowl champs the very next year after he left, years after he had been there and really formed that team that John Gruden got the fruits of the very next year after Dungy left. But then Dungy did the same thing in Indianapolis, and they became Super Bowl champions. And he's a leader of men. He has a high degree of integrity. He's an amazing human being. And people will follow a man like that and listen to what he has to say. If there's no backbone or bedrock to be grounded in as a person, or grounded to in a business or in an organization of any kind, how can you have long-term success? How can you ever have great achievement? You can have short-term success, I think, when you do things the wrong way. When you're going for like a quick cash grab or something as a business, but you're never going to have that staying power or that longevity. It can't happen. It won't happen. Like nature won't allow it to happen. It's how important living with great character and integrity and honesty and stuff. It gets you really what you ultimately are after. So some interesting stats for you. Only 21% of employees believe they work in a business with a strong ethical culture. That's 1 in 5 people. That is scary. That's not good. If you ask any one of the people that work for Critical Bench, and that's people in the building, that's contract workers, which is, now we're talking 20 to 30 people that work for this business, every single one of them will say this is a business of gobs of integrity. And that's why they've been contractors or employees for years and years and years. Okay, here's another one. 40% of employees said their companies had weak or weak-leaning ethics. So these are companies that don't have core values, or whatever their core values are, they are not adhering to. They don't have things set in place to maintain that. Their culture has gotten out of whack, let's say, because they are not sticking to guidelines, principles, core values as a company. That's 40%. And more than 50% of the 10 largest corporate bankruptcies since 1980, such as Enron, WorldCom, and Lehman Brothers, resulted from unethical business practices. Think about it, right? So these are flashes in the pan, right? These are businesses that in the big picture did not exist for very long. Why? Because they did things unethically. They were immoral. They were unbiblical with the things that they did in their business. And again, it was the cash grab. It was we don't care as much about the relationship as we do about the money. And that's not a good place to be. Being consistent with what you value most is absolutely huge. And that's called living in alignment. Living in alignment. And that means that you have established your own set of core values, whether that's individually, right, or if you're in a small business, you're living inside that world of core values and not allowing yourself to go outside those lines. You've created barriers. You've created like zones, things that you just will not do, right? Things that are off limits that you won't allow yourself to do. So I urge people, this is something that Mike and I did several years ago with a mentor of ours I've mentioned on the show many times, Dr. Ron Eccles. He came in, spent a whole day, and we created these core values. I don't know, at this point might be about 6 years ago. And we were really missing those. We always kind of operated this way, but we felt like we needed it written down. We needed it printed out. We needed it posted. We have posters in the building. We talk about it in our meetings. And I urge anybody, small or big business, you need to have this in your business for sure, or personally, individually. This is something that really changed my life. Once these were established in the business, I also started taking more of an assessment of my own life, how I was living my life outside of work, and making sure that I was kind of aligning in my personal life with what we developed here within the business as a set of core values. And I feel like this is one thing that will make you a powerful force in the world, and that people will notice this about you and they will want to be around it. When they can just see it in you. You don't have to go around telling people, I'm a person of great integrity, so nice to meet you. You don't have to say it. It's just who you are. It's your essence. It's how you carry yourself, and people can feel it, especially when they've had the interaction with you. And you do what you say you're going to do, right? You say you're going to get back in touch with somebody, and you do. You say you're going to do this, and you do it. And if you do that enough times, people just know that's just who you are. If you're going to say it, you're going to do it. And so then this is what I said earlier, what I kind of wrote ahead of time, because I really found this to be like, this is what ties all 7 of our core values here together. They all kind of point in the direction of integrity, all of them. And so I wrote this. I wrote, integrity leads to service to others and an outward focus. It leads to our positive mindset, choosing to see the best in all things. Integrity leads to our deep love and genuine passion for the work that we do. It leads to a feeling of appreciation and gratitude for the opportunity to be part of a team and a cause that is truly good. And it leads to the ability to make quick decisions because we are living in alignment with our core values. When you don't have to second guess yourself because you know the way you operate and your decision making can be quick, because it's just how we do it, right? We will not compromise. And lastly, integrity leads to having faith in God and in our team members to live according to honesty, sincerity, and kindness each day we show up. Each day we show up here at the office, each day we show up in life. And it's just something that the name of this episode, right? What are you doing when people aren't even looking at you? How do you function in life? If you're by yourself and no one's around, are you living with integrity? Is it who you are? Or are you just doing it when people are looking? And then you kind of just let yourself get away with things when they're not looking, So you can't have both. Right? You're not in alignment anymore, and it will not work. It's not healthy. It won't feel right. I promise you. When you are I don't know. I don't have to think about it anymore too much. It's just kind of comes more natural. I guess you could say, as I've aged, where I am who I am, and it feels really good, and people pretty much can read me pretty quickly. Within a few minutes, if you hung out with me, you'd pretty much know, okay, I know what I'm dealing with here, and I'm not trying to hide anything, and it's a good freeing feeling to live with integrity and be trusted and to be loyal and to be genuine and sincere and passionate and all these things, right? That really make us attractive to others. I'm not meaning that I just mean in terms of our personality, right? Not looks, right? I have a long way to go there. Okay, so I promised you at the very beginning that I had 10 famous quotes about integrity that I wanted to share with you, and these are great. And there's a lot more, but I'm not going to sit here and read 100 of them. All right, so I picked 10 of my favorites from some pretty amazing people, just to kind of invite you into this world a little bit and just get you thinking, because I know there's one of these that's going to ring really loudly for you and how you want to go about living your life. Okay, so here's my list from the great Zig Ziglar. The foundation stones for a balanced success are honesty, character, integrity, faith, love, and loyalty. From Mr. Nelson Mandela. Yeah, he was pretty powerful, man. As I have said, the first thing is to be honest with yourself. You can never have an impact on society if you have not changed yourself. Great peacemakers are all people of integrity, of honesty, but humility. From Earl Nightingale. Integrity is the seed for achievement. It is the principle that never fails. I love that one. It's so short and powerful. From Stephen Covey. Moral authority comes from following universal and timeless principles like honesty, integrity, treating people with respect. And you're going to hear a lot of the same, like you're going to see where all these kind of like merge. All of these comments, even though they're different, they're all connected. All right, here's from W. Clement Stone. Have the courage to say no. Have the courage to face the truth. Do the right thing because it is right. These are the magic keys to living your life with integrity. Ah, that's great. From Ray Kroc. Yeah, Ray Kroc. If you don't know who Ray Kroc is, look him up. I'm not even going to tell you. That's your homework. Look up who Ray Kroc is. Kroc. Somebody listening knows who that is. It's easy to have principles when you're rich. The important thing is to have principles when you're poor. That's good. Because money does not define us, right? Our financial situation, our financial position isn't what makes us who we are, okay? So you should be the same person regardless of your worth or your savings account. From the man, I love this guy, John Maxwell. If you don't know who John Maxwell is, go look him up. Power really is a test of character. In the hands of a person of integrity, it is of a tremendous benefit. In the hands of a tyrant, it causes terrible destruction. From Maya Angelou. No doubt you have heard this, one of the most famous quotes that I've ever heard. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. That's good. I don't know, that one gets me choked up sometimes. I don't know why. I shouldn't get choked up. I'm just reading a quote, for God's sakes. But that one's good, man, because is that true? People will forget what you said. They'll forget the words. And they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget the feeling they got being in your presence. That's integrity. Here's one from Donald A. Adams. To give real service, you must add something which cannot be bought or measured with money. And that is sincerity and integrity. Notice this word sincere, sincerity, being genuine, right? When people see that transparency, that's why I say people can read me real quick. When people meet me, it's like, you know who I am within the first several minutes of meeting me, because that's just who I am. That's how I operate. Who I am in a YouTube video, who I am it's who I am at home. It's just how I am. There's no masks. There's no facade. That's integrity. That's alignment. And lastly, this one's good. H. Jackson Brown Jr. This is like next generation right here, right? Live so that when your children think of fairness, caring, and integrity, they think of you. Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to do. That's why I shared, excuse me. I get emotional because I have an 11-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter. And I mess up as much as anybody. I screw up all the time. I told you I do. Every day I do something. I'm like, why did I do that? But I will apologize to my kid if I overstep. If I say something or do something that I'm aware of, and I'm aware immediately, which is good. I have the awareness that I acted or said something I shouldn't have, that may have been hurtful or spiteful or just emotional. And I will be very quick to apologize to them and look them in the eye and let them know that, Daddy was wrong in that moment. And, that's not who I am or really how I feel. And we move on. Live so that when your children think of fairness, or live so that when your coworkers think of fairness, live so that when your spouse, live so that when your parents or your friends think of fairness, caring, and integrity, they think of you. That's how you got to live, man. Gosh, that's good. It's like my favorite one. That's why I put it at the end. So this is good. This is fun. I hope you got the essence of what this core value means. It really is the backbone and the bedrock of who we are here at Critical Bench, how we operate, all of our decision making, how we hire, how we fire, how we network, how we build and grow relationships. It's everything. It's being a person of great character, of great integrity. And I hope you got something out of this. As much as me, I love doing my work and my research and reading and prepping and sharing my thoughts and feelings with you, because this helps me, right? This helps me grow. Thinking and talking about this stuff makes me a better person, and I hope it makes you a better person as well. Please go ahead and share this episode with anyone, a friend or family member who could benefit from this, who needs to maybe reflect a little bit and assess how they are in their life and in their world. And it's been just a tremendous honor and pleasure to talk with you today. And we'll be back next week, as always, here on Strong by Design with another podcast. God bless you all. And cheers to the end here of 2022. What a fabulous year it's been for us here at Critical Bench. And I hope you're closing out the year, with friends and with family and making more memories as we look forward to the year to come. God bless you. Talk with you very soon.
Thank you so much for listening to the Strong by Design podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe so that more people can find out about our show. Plus, you don't want to miss any future episodes with the amazing guests and topics we have lined up for you.